don't mean nothing to you. So you don't hold yourself back in front of them because they're not contributing anything fucking towards you anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas before, you're always trying to impress.
Yeah.
You impress the right people, don't you? And the right people you don't have to impress. You just fucking click with.
Yeah.
That's what I found. Yeah. I just couldn't deal with the training. I couldn't deal with it, and I didn't actually get cut from the UFC. I was the one that said to. I rang up my manager, and my manager was in disbelief. I was like, I want out. Get me out of the UFC. And he's like, what? Think about this. You know, I've just spent 11 or 12 years completely dedicating my whole life for one goal to get to the UFC. And, you know, and then I got there, and then, because of my head and, you know, the mental issues I was dealing with, I couldn't deal with the pressure at the time of dealing with my personal life and dealing with the stage of the UFC.
Deal, and now someone was one, and like I said to him, and like I say now, it's an organisation I want to be a part of. Honestly, a lot of people think it's, you know, to get into the other promotions, but I wanted to be with one, and I want to stay with one. So it's for me, it's finally a platform to, you know, perform and do what I love best. So yeah, I'm very thankful for the opportunity.
Versus the Netherlands, a kickboxer versus a freestyler. Carlos 365 in Florida.
There was that knee, that was beautifully timed. They were able to reverse things, land that big knee now.
The touchdown worth the Muay Thai now. Tuck up to there from Caruso. Gut punching there. Now fighting! Good. Down tube there from
Pressure coming from Caruso. He's just a lot to deal with. Beautiful sidestep.
With 140 remaining. Caruso takes a deep breath. Uppercut from Faust. Caruso's going to watch the high knee. There it is. Oh, smack bang. And the Highland crowd. Caruso's in trouble. He ties up Faust. But that's what Faust does. He can turn the tide in an instant. The high knee from the Buckman.
Caruso has to do. He has to buy himself a little bit of time. Now he's in his corner, so he's got some instructions being barked at by his brothers. He's got to take a big deep breath. You can see a little bit of damage that's starting to drip down on his leg there.
That's how he can in the first round. Back to the foot down. One-time clincher. Knees from Faust. The second Antonio Caruso goes for a high kick. As Caruso got one big punch left, it's the overhand drop.
Corner!
The streak hits. Oh, look for the knee, and as you said, Denham looks for the takedown.
I like the way Denham is able to stay in the pocket. Oh, he's been hurt here.
Really is a finisher. Look at that pistol left hand there. Wow.
I'm here, man. I'm here. I'm in the heavyweight division, and I ain't scared of anyone in the UK.
Going out the first round. The hand of Godbeer. Nice inside leg kick. Oh, the big roll! Those leg kicks are slamming the Barkley guard. He's walking forward. He's just taken 3 knees. Jarring knees. Godbeer turns with the right hands as well, but this is what Taylor wants. Still there. They say it's all over. It's all over. Oh! Godbeer's looked at him. In charge. Oh, the big right hand. Mark Godbeer. Well, this is the thing with Godbeer. It's the new mobility that he was talking about. He's sitting there jumping. He's number one down. He knew. He saw the way that Godbeer was slipping the opening round here. And again,
he will push him away. So you gotta watch out is that he doesn't run into one of ours, particularly again though right now. He's gonna drop his hands and try to get Mark to come in hard.
Oh, and he did! That's coming in hard, Chris! And it's all over!
Well, you are still the hand and you are still the champion of the world.
good like last week, so I think this week I've got to really give it that really good big push, because I think it's like 12, 13 hours time difference, you know. So it's going to take 3 or 4 days to adjust.
Yeah.
So, see how it goes.
So what's the time in North Dakota now?
Right, so what's the time now? So it said it was 10 o'clock now.
Yeah.
After 9, 10 o'clock. Say it was 10 o'clock, it would be 10 p.m. I think it's over 12 hours. Okay. Well, so we'll be travelling all back in time. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
While you were still in the UFC or after?
When I was in the UFC, if I'm honest with you, my last fight with the UFC, I was at a point where, and at the time, if I'm honest with you, it was almost like I was burnt out with fighting, but I had a lot of other shit going on, like with my ex-wife and stuff with, you know, my personal life.
Out of Bridgewater, England, mark the hand of Godbeer.
I didn't want to get up every day. I didn't want to be training every day. I didn't want to be, it was like I didn't want to do it anymore. And the reason why was just because my head wasn't right. You know, I had fighting is a very, very, very stressful, game. Mentally, you have to be mentally strong with this game. My last sort of fight, I can remember being there, and to be honest, my last fight I had, I should have won the fight, mate. I personally, I think I was better than the guy. There was at one point he was on all fours, like he was on his elbows and his knees on all fours, and I was on top of him. He was done, and all I had to do was just slam in some big shots, and I won the fight. But my instinct, I've always been known throughout my career for having that finishing instinct. It just wasn't there.
Noski here, finishing the second round
Under
strong.
the chin as
Look
well.
at this, that's very tight.
By Sosnovsky. The tapping hand is ready, and it's a debut win by submission for the Russian.
People don't understand the other side of fighting is like how a fighter deals with a loss. You spent all your time and effort building up to that fight, and then all of a sudden you lose. It's like a big empty void. And then a lot of fighters,
Everyone around you.
Everyone goes quiet. I've just gone from here, coming back to my little small town of Bridgewater, which I love my little town, but coming from here, and then coming to here, and then all of a sudden losing back to normal reality, and then it's like, fuck. And then all of a sudden, you start spending time in the pub, drinking all the time, and then after that I just went right down. I went a massive spiral down. I just went down massively. That walk to the cage can make or break a guy. And I remember the last walk I had to the cage, I walked to the cage and I was like, man, I'm convincing myself, man, I'm back, I'm hyping myself up, but I'm sort of convincing myself that, this is what I want to be here. But in the back of my head, I said to you on the way up, you almost know when you're going to lose a fight. And then there was just something went right with my head, that fight. And then obviously after I had that fight, spiraled into a bit of a depression, started drinking a lot.
Experience on the side of Godbeer, height and range as well in favour of the British fighter. End the fight at any moment. Their fighters here. Now they're in the pocket. Switch there up nice straight to the body. Then again works the body of Bellis.
Like if you compare yourself to someone, you're only comparing to what you think they're like. But then when you fucking know that person, it's like, hang on a minute, dude.
You're gonna understand why they're like they are. You start seeing, once you know their character, you don't judge them. You start beginning to understand why they like they are and stuff like that.
And it's easy when you first get into MMA to think like, well, I don't know, not everyone, but when you first get into the MMA and you look at the UFC and lots of young guys, it's like they're so meticulous on their diet. They're perfect on their diet. They're perfect on their cardio. They listen, they do this, they do all of those things. But then they're not really being themselves. And if you're not doing that, like you said, being happy and being yourself, but reining in as much as you can.
obviously built humans.
Dropped him. Sergey Belostani looking for the hammerfish finish this fight. Oh, and that's it. That is it. And to the cheers of the crowd here in Moscow.
A good fight should be like a small play, but played seriously. A good martial artist does not become tense, but ready. Not thinking yet, not dreaming. Ready for whatever may come. When the opponent expands, I contract. When it contracts, I expand. And when there is an opportunity, I do not hit. It hits all by itself.
For over 20 years, since before my fight career, I've been learning from sparring great martial artists. And every now and then I get a chance to share knowledge and learn from one of the best fighters in the world today, such as Zabit Magomedsharipov.
on the pads with Marley, went and had something to eat for an hour, and then come in and then sparred an hour after. So you're trying to replicate what you're going to feel like on the fight as well, on the night. I was leaning too much, and he was coming over top reading it. He's very experienced, so he was reading my movements. So today I need to keep him long, keep him long and hands up. Got to keep up. I can't go doing this with him, mate. Just go. Going back to the dark days. It's opened up my eyes to right now. Let's fight, but let's fight with a plan.
Hey guys, let's light up. The first 3 rounds is going to be just boxing, guys. First 3 rounds, just boxing.
I try not to be too religious on camera, but it's almost like God's way of punishing me, make me realise why, I've given you this opportunity and this is what you're fucking doing, so I'm going to let you go back to where you were to make you realise what I'm giving you, and that's how I feel now with my head, and I think through experiencing that massive crash and massive downfall is really lifting me back up again, so we're here now, mate.
The combat veteran Jack May. Now you believe you're the more sharp, technical fighter, training with heavyweight boxing, world-class fighters, the Andy Ruizes, the Dominique Brazils. What's your expectation when you go out there in the pit?
Shine. Outbox to win. Any means necessary.
He's getting ready. He's been here before. This is not his first bare knuckle fight. Do you have any final thoughts before you make your way down there to the pit?
No thoughts, I'm just going to get in there and do my job, guys.
All right, gentlemen, we've been through the rules in the back. I expect a good, clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Touch him up if you want.
Hey.
Ooh, huge right hand, barely misses.
Godbeer looking for it all. He's not joking. He wants to get in and get out.
Whoa. If this fight was in the Tokyo Dome, it would be Godzilla versus Roll Down.
Down goes May, and boy, he hit his head hard on the way down.
I tell you what, that punch was solid. Holy cow.
Walk to me.
That was a long way down for Jack May. Godbeer trying to finish it. Out goes Jack May.
Looking back on it now, I'm in a really good place now, mentally I'm back to where I feel like I'm back to where I was 5 years ago.
And to kick things off in the heavyweight tournament, it is Mighty Mo taking on Sokaju, 2 cult favorites.
Oh, buddy. There's
Massive
a
left
power.
hook for Mighty Mo.
There's the
Sokaju
power.
eats it.
Oh, there's that left hook. Oh, he moved, got out of the way of that just in time. Big power coming. Whoa.
Sokaju on very unsteady legs. The left hook drops it.
Through fear, I get adrenaline. Adrenaline is caused through fear. It's the flight or fight mode, and that's the addiction. So my hair is standing up on that, literally, honestly, and that's the addiction. Is it like that walking into the unknown, not knowing that's the drug?
It's the heavyweight title on the line. Round 1.
Whoa, big left hook.
Lodge.
Oh, back of the head dance.
Keep it in the ring, guys. Fight.
Oh, Godbeer showing he's got a hell of a beard.
20 seconds to survive this round, but down he goes.
He's stuck in that one.
The hand of Godbeer is struck again.
to reignite that spark. I had to feel like, it made me realize, fuck man, this is why I do what I do. This is why I love it. You know, I don't do this for the fame. I don't do this for, because it is easy once you get to a certain level. A lot of fighters would agree with this, but once you get to a certain level, you know, you surround yourself with 98% of people who are false. They're there when you're winning. They're there when they want something from you. They're there, you know, there's out of those, I say 98, let's say 90%, you know, but because there is some good guys in this, but once you start going downhill and you start sloping off and your head starts going and that, then there's only that 10% that start recognizing that and they stick by you and say, come on man, like this.
And a new Valor Bare Knuckle Heavyweight Champion, the Hand of
Let's talk about the horse you promised your daughter if you won this thing. So the whole way through this tournament, I made a promise to my daughter. I said to her, if I win this tournament, I'll buy her a horse that she wants. And baby girl, I'm gonna get you a fucking horse.
There's tourists who don't even